My husband's parents said I could join the vacation, only if I paid for everything myself. I just smiled, stayed home quietly, and canceled everything. 6 days later, they returned to an empty apartment and a letter on the table. They read it. First came the screaming, then came 35 calls in a row. I'd never heard anything more crazy in my life. They called it an invitation. Said I could come on vacation with them, to the coast, a beach house, full week, blah blah blah. The only condition? I had to pay for everything myself. Not just my own part. Everything. Gas, groceries, the rental. I stared at them like they were auditioning for a sitcom. But instead of arguing, I smiled. Because that was the moment I realized it was the perfect way out. A clean, quiet exit. They'd all be gone for 6 days, completely out of the apartment, out of my hair, assuming I didn't pull any more of it out first. Because yeah, I had almost ripped my mother-in-law's hair straight out of her head the week before. And honestly, I still don't feel bad about it. She wouldn't stop complaining while I was trying to submit tax info for my online shop. Something about me making noise while she was watching her game shows. She actually said I was typing too hard. I nearly lost it. I stood up and that woman flinched. My husband jumped in and told me to relax, like I was some unhinged lunatic instead of the person keeping them all alive with my paycheck. We'd been living in his parents' tiny 2-bedroom apartment for over a year. And in the past 8 months I was the only one working. My husband had lost his job and somehow decided that meant he could become a full-time couch ornament. His parents, retired, bitter, and way too comfortable with me footing every single bill. They didn't even pretend to be grateful. They joked that I looked worse every month. That I was neglecting my appearance, like I wasn't working double shifts and running my side business just to keep the lights on. They never helped with anything. They didn't even cook. I'd come home after 12 hours on my feet and find the sink piled with dishes, and then his mom would hand me her dirty mug like I was her waitress. So when they offered me that pathetic vacation deal, it wasn't an insult. It was an opening. They'd be gone for 6 full days. No one home. No one watching. No one asking for money or food or rides or attention. I smiled at them. Said I'd think about it. But in my head I was already packing. I counted the minutes until they were gone. His mom spent the morning yelling about sunscreen and beach towels, as if they were headed for a month-long expedition and not 6 days at a rental house someone else paid for. His dad complained about the gas prices like they hadn't squeezed every last drop out of me for the past year. And my husband, he couldn't find his flip-flops. Spent 15 minutes whining about it before borrowing mine. I stood there nodding, smiling, listening to all of it like a good little house guest. He kissed me on the cheek and told me to take it easy while they were gone. I wanted to laugh. I really did. As soon as the door shut and I heard the elevator hum, I moved. Locked the door behind them and just stood there in silence. For the first time in months, no one was talking at me, judging me, asking me for money, complaining that the Wi-Fi was slow or the fridge was empty. It was the first time in forever that the air felt like mine. I got to work fast. First, the business. My small online shop was the only reason any of us were eating. They liked to joke that I was just selling trinkets. But those trinkets made me nearly $4,000 last month, and 90% of it went into bills, groceries, and whatever his parents suddenly needed. I paused all active listings, refunded a couple of pending orders, and sent out a temporary closure notice. Said I'd be back in a few weeks. I wouldn't. Then came the bills. I logged into every single account, electric, gas, internet, even their Netflix, and shut them all down. No delays. No forwarding. Just flat out canceled. I changed the passwords, removed my name from anything that wasn't required, and even called the landlord to let them know I wouldn't be renewing the lease. The apartment was technically in his parents' name, but my income was what kept it standing. Then I packed. Not everything, just the essentials. 2 suitcases, one for clothes, one for everything that actually mattered. My laptop, the business backup drive, ID, passport, savings book, and every piece of jewelry I ever owned. Some of it wasn't even fancy, just sentimental, but I wasn't leaving anything they could claim as gifts or try to sell when the money dried up. I left the wedding ring, put it right there on top of a note I wrote with a shaking hand but a clear mind. The letter was short. I didn't bother with emotion. I said I was filing for divorce, that I had given more than enough and that they'd be fine without me since they already acted like I didn't exist. I said I hoped they enjoyed the vacation, that I'd taken what belonged to me, that everything else wasn't my problem anymore. Then I grabbed my bags and walked out of that suffocating little apartment like it was on fire behind me. I went straight to Danielle's place. She left the key under the flower pot just like she promised. She had a spare room and a fridge full of food and, most importantly, no one yelling at me. That night, I slept for 10 hours straight. The next day, I filed for divorce. They still had no idea. They got back on a Thursday. I knew the exact time their train arrived because they posted about it on Facebook. A blurry selfie with my husband and his mom smiling like they'd just won the lottery, captioned, "Back to reality." I was already sipping coffee in Danielle's kitchen, scrolling through it with a calm I didn't recognize in myself. I knew exactly how it would go down. They'd walk into the apartment, dragging their sandy luggage behind them, sunburnt and exhausted. His mom would immediately notice the dead silence. His dad would try the light switch. Nothing. No electricity. Then they'd check the Wi-Fi. Gone. Refrigerator. Warm. Mailbox. Stuffed with return notices. And on the dining table that note. The ring. Nothing else. I didn't have to wait long. Less than an hour after that post went up, my phone started vibrating. At first, just a couple calls from my husband. Then a string of messages. Then the real storm hit. 35 calls in a row. No voicemails, just missed calls piling up like warning sirens. His mom, his dad, even a few relatives I'd never spoken to suddenly found their voices. Texts ranged from confused to angry to absolutely unhinged. Accusations, guilt trips, desperate pleads, some classic "how could you" speeches. They weren't worried about me. They were panicking about the bills, the food, the canceled shop, and the realization that the person they leaned on like a crutch was just gone. And the best part? They thought I'd left them the business. I didn't say otherwise in the letter. That was intentional. I knew my husband would go sniffing around for access, try to log in, poke around the accounts. He'd see that the website was still technically online, that the name hadn't changed, and assume it was still making money for them. So when the divorce papers came, he didn't fight them. Probably thought he'd won. Probably thought he'd keep the business, get alimony, maybe even make me feel guilty enough to still help out now and then. What he didn't know was that the business had been registered under my name alone. No partnership. No marital claims. I'd had it in my name since the beginning. I even moved the domain to a new host and wiped the client database the day before I left. What he was logging into was just a hollow shell. The moment he signed those divorce papers, it was all mine. And he had zero claim to any of it. They found out a week later. That's when the tone of their calls changed. From demanding to begging. Suddenly they remembered how much they loved me. That they'd always supported me. They begged me to reconsider, to come back, to just talk. My parents started getting calls too. Not that it helped. They blocked them immediately. My dad said it best. You broke the mule's back and now you want to ride it again? No one was buying their pity act anymore. I thought after the divorce papers were signed they'd back off. Maybe stew in their misery, scramble for money, guilt trip each other into fixing the mess they were left with. But no, when people are used to feeding off you, they don't just stop. They panic. 2 weeks after I vanished, his mother showed up at the clinic. I wasn't there, obviously. I'd quit the job 2 days after moving out. Danielle had already helped me line up remote work through one of her clients. I was finally making money without bleeding myself dry. But apparently no one told his mom. She walked in like she owned the place and demanded to see me. Said it was urgent family business. The front desk tried to be polite, but she wasn't having it. She told them I'd stolen things from their home, that I took advantage of her son's kindness. She claimed I was mentally unstable and needed to be talked to before I ruined more lives. Then she cried. Loudly. In the middle of a crowded waiting room. They eventually called security. When I heard about it, I didn't know whether to laugh or be horrified. But that wasn't even the weirdest part. 3 days later I got a certified letter. From my ex-husband. It was an official request to renegotiate the divorce agreement. Apparently, after realizing he had no access to the business account and that the online shop was still active, but now under a completely new domain and brand, he decided I must have tricked him. Claimed I'd hidden assets. Demanded half of my income. Even accused me of emotional damage and said I was responsible for his unemployable state. He also claimed I'd abandoned him in a time of need. I showed the letter to my lawyer, who nearly snorted. The documents he signed were airtight. The business had always been under my name alone, long before we even got married. I'd built it from scratch, registered the brand, paid all the taxes. He was never listed on anything. In fact, he never even understood how the back end worked. But that didn't stop him from trying to copy it. One of my old clients reached out through email asking if I had a new store. She'd seen a site using the same product names and photos and wanted to make sure it wasn't a scam. It was. He tried to build a knockoff of my shop using my old product images, copied descriptions, and even mimicked the layout. But he had no idea how to manage orders. He missed shipments, got refund requests, ignored messages, and ended up flagged for fraud by the payment platform. His account got frozen before he even made $100. That's when I realized this wasn't just about revenge anymore. He was actually trying to be me. Use my name, my work, my identity, just without doing the actual work. We sent a cease and desist the same day and filed for a restraining order right after. I wasn't afraid of him showing up, but I didn't want to leave any cracks open. He'd always been lazy. I didn't expect him to become desperate. Then came the message. It came from a number I didn't recognize. I almost ignored it until I saw the preview on my lock screen. You think you won? But you see, I'm not done. It wasn't signed. Didn't need to be. For the first time I didn't feel angry. I felt something colder. I didn't respond to the message. I didn't block the number either. I wanted to see if he'd be stupid enough to send something incriminating. My lawyer agreed. Document everything, don't engage. Still, for the next few days I kept looking over my shoulder when I went out. Danielle offered to install a camera by the front door and I didn't argue. But he didn't show up. What he did instead was try to turn people against me. It started with mutual friends, people we'd barely seen in years suddenly reaching out, acting concerned. One sent me a long, dramatic message about how they heard I had a breakdown and that my ex was doing everything he could to hold things together. Another one said they were shocked I'd abandoned a man who stood by me when no one else would. I asked one of them if he told them about the part where I paid his rent, cooked for his parents, and kept his life running like a damn assistant while he played video games for 9 months straight. No reply. Then I started getting fake reviews on the new shop. 1-star ratings. Comments accusing me of stealing products, scamming customers, even faking reviews. The names were all slightly off. Some had his usual gamer tag variations, some were clearly his mother's phrases pasted into angry feedback. I contacted the platform, sent them all the proof, and they took everything down. But it kept escalating. He filed a police report. Said I'd stolen electronics, jewelry, even family heirlooms. Claimed I cleaned out the apartment and disappeared in the middle of the night. I found out only because a detective called me to follow up. I calmly explained everything, sent the receipts, the bank records, even a copy of the lease showing I'd paid every month since we moved in. It didn't go anywhere. But it shook me. He wasn't just bitter, he was delusional. The next day, Danielle's car was keyed in the driveway. We didn't see who did it. No cameras caught it. But there was a word scratched deep into the paint across the driver's side. Liar. Danielle looked at me and said, "He's not gonna stop, is he?" I didn't answer. But I already knew. I'd left that life behind. I'd taken my name, my money, my peace. He wanted it back. Or at least he wanted to ruin it if he couldn't have it. And I was starting to realize he might not care how far he had to go. I thought I was prepared for anything by then. But I wasn't prepared for the envelope that showed up at Danielle's. No return address. Just my name written in handwriting I recognized instantly. Inside were 2 things, a flash drive and a photo. The photo was of me and Danielle sitting on her porch. From across the street. I was laughing, holding a coffee mug. Danielle had her feet up. It was dated 3 days ago. My stomach dropped. I plugged in the flash drive, half expecting it to be corrupted or full of garbage. But it wasn't. It was a folder titled, "You Really Want This?" Inside were dozens of screenshots. Messages between me and old clients, drafts of product ideas, even my vendor invoices. Nothing illegal, but all of it taken from my old laptop. The one I left behind in a drawer because I thought it was broken. It wasn't. He'd kept it. I sat there staring at the files, realizing just how long he must have been planning this. Not just lashing out after the divorce. This was premeditated. He'd gone through my things before I even left. Downloaded files, copied designs, tried to clone the one thing he knew he couldn't rebuild himself. And now he was threatening to leak it all. To, I didn't know. Maybe clients. Maybe competitors. Maybe he just wanted to ruin my reputation enough to feel like he still had control. Or maybe he wanted me scared. Looking over my shoulder. Feeling like I could never truly leave. I called my lawyer again. She said it wasn't just harassment now. It was a legal threat. Blackmail. But we couldn't move without evidence he was the one who sent it. So I waited. 3 days later I got a message from one of his cousins. Someone I barely remembered. She said she didn't want to get involved but thought I should know something. She'd seen him with someone. Some guy he used to know from high school who worked in IT. Said they'd been bragging about unlocking stuff and talking about a big move. I asked her why she was telling me. He said because he's not right anymore. That he talks to himself sometimes. That he said something about sending a message that would make Brittany disappear for good. The next morning I packed my things again. Not out of fear but because I was done playing defense. I wasn't going back. But I wasn't hiding anymore either. He thought he could ruin me by dragging me through the past. But he forgot something. I built everything once. I could do it again. Only this time I'd make sure he was nowhere near it. Update. It's been almost 2 months since the envelope and things have finally quieted down. The restraining order is official and permanent now. My lawyer took everything. Photo, flash drive, messages, the statement from his cousin, and had it locked down tight. If he so much as drives down the wrong street he'll be in court faster than he can blink. I guess that finally got through to him because I haven't heard a single word since. No texts. No emails. No surprises. But I know silence doesn't always mean peace. After the envelope I moved. This time not into someone's guest room or a temporary fix. I found my own apartment. 1 bedroom, nothing fancy but it's mine. My name on the lease, my name on the mailbox, no one else's clutter in the drawers. The first night I slept there I kept expecting a knock at the door. Nothing came. It was almost eerie. Danielle helped me set up the place. We painted the walls a soft green, hung a few plants and sat on the floor with pizza the first night. She hasn't said it out loud but I know she's relieved too. He went through all of it with me. She didn't sign up for that kind of chaos, but she never stepped back. The business is better than ever. I rebranded completely. New name, new website, new packaging. Fresh logo, fresh client base. I didn't even transfer the old reviews, I started from scratch. And still, in just 5 weeks, it passed what I used to earn. There's something about creating without fear that makes the work easier. I haven't spoken to anyone from his family. Not a word. But I hear things. Quiet updates, whispers through mutuals. Apparently, they're living with one of his brothers now. Sold his dad's car to cover missed payments. His mom's been telling people she has chronic fatigue. I guess it's easier to say that than to admit the only person who took care of them is gone. And him? He's not working. So, tried to apply for some tech job but failed the interview because he couldn't answer basic questions. Word is he's been blaming the divorce for his decline. That I ruined his confidence. That's the part that always gets me. The man who did nothing expects everything and blames everyone when it doesn't appear in his lap. But here's the truth. I'm not angry anymore. I'm not even trying to teach them a lesson. That's over. I'm building now. Rebuilding myself, my life, the time they took. And I finally understand that closure isn't a door slamming shut. It's just walking so far away you can't hear the noise anymore. Still, I won't lie. There's part of me that stays alert. I know people like him don't let go that easy. He may be quiet now, but silence from someone like that doesn't last forever. And I've learned to trust my gut when it tightens without a reason. So I'm calling this the last update for now. But if he shows up again in any form, if he tries something new, if I catch his name in a corner I didn't expect, I'll be back here. Because I'm not afraid to talk anymore. Not now. Not ever again.